Okay, want to welcome everyone. So glad that you are here. Today, our special speaker is Natasha Feghali, who is a longtime educator, and she's been in the Middle East for a long time. She is also very active in Canada with ELT. So without further ado, Natasha Feghali.
Hi, everyone. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you are coming from. I'd like to first begin by thanking Anne so much for having me here and always having me as a part of TESOL Kuwait. I'm very, very grateful to TESOL Kuwait, and I've been a member since probably 2014, I would say, when I had first come to Kuwait in the early stages of my career. And I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today. Please excuse me if I'm talking too quickly. Just send me a note in the chat box and I will slow down my speech. And as well, my Arabic is not the strongest. Albeit being Lebanese from Canada, my Arabic is not the strongest to do a full presentation. So please excuse me as well. I am a student of language, just like our students of language. I'm so happy that you've taken out this hour of your day on a Saturday, and I'm going to leave a lot of space for you to ask questions, comments, and concerns. I am a little bit under the weather, so I also do ask for some space on that one as well, because I am a little bit under the weather, and I do really apologize for that. But I did not, first and foremost, want to cancel on all of you because I respect your time, as well as our dear Anne, who works so very tirelessly with TESOL Kuwait for us and is awake in the middle of the night to be here. So how could I not be here with us today? I just want to remind you that there is a symposium coming, as well as always check out our TESOL journals that are posted online and our TESOL Kuwait Instagram, where, of course, so many things are shared there. I'd like to as well wish everyone a happy new year. I'm so grateful that all of you are here today. And I hope that this is going to be, inshallah, a wonderful year for all of us who are in education, and that whatever it is that you're seeking, that you find that and that you make your way on your trajectory of your career. I am here coming to you from Kuwait, and I do apologize. It's very sunny in this room, so I have dimmed my lights so that it's not too much of a contrast for you. Now, before I get started in my presentation, yesterday as I was preparing it, I somewhat modified the topic, because as we're coming off of a winter break or holiday break, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from, I wanted to change the topic slightly because I felt like, of course, we're always looking to be re-energized. So I've incorporated everything sort of in one. So essentially, student well-being, educator well-being, classroom management, and then we will have a case study, as well as I do not like to have just straight, sage on the stage, just talking. I don't think those are effective presentations, and I don't think they grasp the attention of anyone. So I'm just your guide on the side, and we're going to go through a lot of videos and learn a lot of new things about how to set up your classroom to re-engage your students, have a handle on classroom management. I think that globally, all of us are seeing that classroom management, you can have the best lesson. You can be a PhD doctor, but if you cannot control that classroom, no one is learning anything. And I stand by that 100%. Fear worked when I was a child in school. Fear with this generation does not work anymore. And I say that respectfully because I have the most beautiful nieces and nephews who are from the ages of 1.5 to 11, and they don't listen to anyone, no matter what we do. So when I think about them, I think about our classrooms and I think, there's a lot of similarities here. It doesn't matter if you're in Canada or if you're in Erbil. Kids these days are very overexposed, overstimulated, and have a lot of rights to their benefit in many cases, but it's also sometimes a detriment, which is a double-edged sword, because what we are seeing is literacy rates declining. We are seeing a lot more of the special needs cases rising. And I won't talk about that too much because those are not my specialty. So I don't like to bridge on things that I'm not a specialist in, especially in those domains. So let's talk about how we can engage students more and more. And I see everybody in the comment box agreeing, and I know that we come from all walks of life and all over the world. So I know you understand what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen right now with you, my friends, and we'll get started because I love to be cognizant of time. And that's a very, very Canadian thing. We don't go overtime. Matter of fact, we stop early. Please remember that this is an adult learning model and a safe space, so I ask that you refrain from any harmful or abusive language or dialogue with others. Please conduct any dialogue in the chat group very respectfully so that we can continue the presentation, because I will have to shut it down if there is anything that is abusive, heinous, or threatening to others, as I'm sure all of you understand. We're all professionals here. I'm trying to admit everybody here. I'm sorry if I don't see you, and I just want to keep the chat box open as well so that I can have this here on the side. I just want to keep this chat box. It's not really letting me. So I'll mute it for now, and then I'll get to that later. Okay, so our big topic today is going to be the third teacher, you, your classroom, and management. And this is all part of re-engaging students and keeping students engaged, especially in the language classroom. What we know coming out from a lot of different universities, such as Boise and Toronto, different educational speakers and writers, such as Michael Fullan, is that the third teacher is your classroom. So what that space looks like is going to be how you engage and re-engage students, and how you fill that trap at the bottom in order to catch those students that are not possibly meeting benchmarks, or that you know are starting to slip from where they might usually teeter academically. And so I felt that this was very important for us to discuss, because what we know is that after any extended break, that's where you can catch your kids again. You know, you're not going to catch them in June. You know, you've already passed the hill. But when you come off of an extended break, that's when you can restart the class. You can come with new norms. You can re-energize them, re-engage them, and essentially you could even kind of start from zero if you know that, say, in September, you possibly didn't do your best work grasping them and setting the classroom ideology. You know that after an extended break, you could get them back on track. And that's not me making that up. That comes from a lot of pedagogical research that you can find in different pedagogical journals. So my name is Natasha Feghali, as I said, and I'm also a Stanford Fellow in Women's Rights and Policy and Democratic Law and Rule for Lebanese women and citizenship rights. Our agenda is we're going to, of course, go over an introduction, primary goals, areas of growth, how to change the environment, a case study, and then we will summarize from there. So just to give you some context, as I said, I'm a Canadian trained educator. Not that that makes me different from anybody else. We're all teachers, no matter where we learn and grow, but just where I was born and studied. And I've been in education now going in my 60th year. I've taught everything from K to 12, language, homeroom, French immersion classrooms, because in Canada, French is our second national language. And for the last 7 years, I have worked in intervention and instructional coaching. And I, in Canada, focused on newcomer refugees to re-assimilate them into the classroom, Arabic refugees, Middle Eastern refugees, Arabic speaking. And here in Kuwait, I do intervention at the primary level, language and literacy. And I have been, as I said, doing more of the program field now for about 7 years. And I am still in the classroom at times. And it's been a real journey, it's been a real journey in education. And I think there are days when it's the best career, and there are other days when you go home and you're like, I would much rather work at McDonald's than do this. You're just totally defeated. And I've been there, and I've been there quite a bit. So I know how that can feel. But with the proper strategies and support system, you can do it. You can make it. There is no child that doesn't just want to be seen and heard. Even with the biggest behaviors, they just want to be seen and heard. And with a little bit of time and patience, you can do it. I am not the person that's going to say that the problems in your classroom are because of you. I'm never going to say that, because I've been in the trenches, and I know that there are times where the problems in the classroom are not because of me. It's because of budgeting. It's because of lack of resources. It's because of lack of time. It's because of multiple factors. So what I'm going to say is that as a human, as a teacher, we can only do what we can do, but our greatest strength is working with the children, teenagers, young adults, seniors that are in front of us, and giving them our compassion and empathy. Because what I always say is, no parent, there is not a parent on this earth that is saying, my good children, I'm going to keep at home, and I'm only going to send the bad ones to school. That doesn't happen. They send you what they have, and they're just asking for you to give them compassion and empathy. Because before those children get to you in the morning, they've probably had a whole life that we don't know about. And when they leave at 2:45, they might be going home to things that are beyond our imagination. We go home every day with a job, with food. We don't know that they do. And so the most important thing is that we are there to support them more than grades, more than all of that. Do any of you even know what your science grade was in grade 2? I'm sure if you do, I mean, mashallah. But if you don't, well, they will not either. So we need to come to them, especially now in a post-COVID world, with compassion and empathy more than anything. So I'm just gonna move to the next one. Okay, so I saw many of you did tell me where you're from in the comment chat box. Would you please be so kind to tell me what you teach and how long you have been an educator for? If you just want to drop all that in the comment box, what you teach and how long have you been in education for? Thanks, David. Thanks, Rosanna. Oh, thanks, Mayar. Thanks, Naziha. Thanks, Ashraf. Ali, Dr. Sonali. Haneen, thank you. Anna, dobar dan. Donna May, thank you. Frozan, thank you. 28 years, Ashraf, mashallah. This is amazing. There's so much experience in the room today that I really look forward to. 30 years, Rolando, you're an icon. Thank you, Mahmoud. 31 years. That's amazing. 16 years, 8 years. Wow, that's amazing. Just seeing how much, 26 years, Raid Miss Rachel. Just seeing how much, how much, I'm looking for the correct word. I don't want to say manpower, but I'd like to say like brain power we have in this room together today is absolutely amazing. And I know that all of you have so much to offer, and God bless you for all that you do for your students. That's amazing. 12 years head of department. That's wonderful. 26 years. Mashallah. I can learn from you. 20 years. Mashallah. That's amazing. 25 years in KSA. That's amazing. Thank you so much, everybody, for sharing that with me and for sharing that with our colleagues today. So as I said, I'm a very, very informal person. It's a Saturday. We're all teachers. I'm sure you're also sitting on the couch and relaxing or doing something. So it's very informal. And I'm so lucky to have you here with me today. Okay, so how would you describe the third teacher? If you just want to put that in the comment box, what do you think the third teacher is? When I say to you that the room is the third teacher, so we have us as the primary teacher, the instruction as the secondary teacher, and then what would be the third teacher that in your opinion is, and how is that important? So I'll just give everybody a second to do that now. Yeah, very good. That's right. Creating that comfort for the students in that room. Yeah, the space. That's it. That's the clear answer. It's just the space. You know, you can have a classroom in a rundown building, but if your classroom isn't engaging of the students, and I just want to give a point of privilege. I just want to put a point of privilege. I understand that for many people, they are not working in environments where they have the ability, you know, to have Amazon deliver like $100, you know, worth of stuff. So I just want to say point of privilege that I understand that some people are not able to create a space that they wish or they want to as an educator just do based on their geographical location and the financial means. So I'd like to state that just from the beginning. Yeah, exactly. The teacher the teacher is the role model in that environment. Yes, of course, accepting students' point of view. Yeah, that's one thing I was just reading about. So I'll continue on here. So what is the third teacher and who is the third teacher? The third teacher is in your classroom. It is the learning environment. The first teacher is the parent, as we know. The second is the classroom teacher, because we work as a triangulation. And the third is the environment you create. So there's you, there's the student, and then there's the parent, and you work as a triangle in order to create success for that student and work with them on their success journey. So I'm just going to show you a video about what a third teacher classroom might look like that continuously engages students in inquiry, in thought, and in productivity. Amazing. Excellent. So there we had a bit of we had a view of how you could create the classroom to be the third teacher. And one thing that I really loved in that video is that it said the environment of the classroom has to match the environment that the students are used to. And especially for those of us working here in the Middle East, I often wonder if our classroom is actually indicative of the students' culture, or is it indicative of our Western culture? And although they might be two parallel worlds functioning on one planet, they're also very different. And I often wonder if we are sometimes doing our students a disservice as teachers coming from abroad into a new environment. So I'd like to know your thoughts on that and what you think. Because when I was putting the presentation together and I saw that video and I was reading that, I thought, is my office really encompassing the culture of where I live and of where I teach and of my students' heritage and background? And am I servicing them the best I can in my space? And it was really interesting. And I thought, you know, I have to make some changes, some changes in here to make them feel more like it's their space than it is mine. So I'd like to know how you feel. Please leave me a comment in the comment box if you feel that, yeah, that's a good one, Nada. That's a very good one. Should be an extension of the student's home and culture. And that's what I thought as well. And I was really, I really started to look around my office, which is very large. I have tables and chairs in there. And I thought, you know, I might need to make some adjustments in here so that I can really bring in that cultural aspect as a teacher leader, you know, to have my class embody and embrace more of my environment and my surrounding. Of course, comfort zone, that's right. No child should come to school petrified of the adult that's with them all day. No one should come to school in that condition. So the transformation phase, transforming, and thank you again for your comments. I'm just piggybacking on those. Transforming your third teacher room is something that can be as simple as focusing on just one area in your room. So start small. Start small. It doesn't have to be an all-encompassing thing on one day. You start small. You start with maybe a reading nook, a reading area, a writing area, you know, some pillows, whatever it might be. Start small to start that engagement, to get that engagement going and change those behaviors in the classroom. Focusing on just one area in your room and can change how your students interact instantly with each other and the materials. A calm space, calm colors, a very calm educator who is using nonverbal classroom management, we know creates that instant vibration in the classroom. You see, you're the only one that knows that you're the only teacher in the room. The kids, they don't know that. They know that you're their teacher, but it doesn't really click into them that that's the only adult here in the room, or else it would be mayhem, total mayhem. The third teacher is a powerful teacher when remembering that setting up a room is not just about setting it up to be pretty or cute. I do never use, you know, those posters you get at different manufacturers that are like, good job. I never use that. I only ever use student work, ungraded student work on the boards. I don't do outside of the classroom. I will probably decorate the board, of course, depending on the school's beliefs and ideologies. But inside the classroom, The only thing that should be up on the cork boards or on your walls or displayed is you and the students work together, because they don't identify to a poster that you bought at the mall. They don't identify to that. They identify when they say, hey, that's my work right there. I did that. I created that. And that's exactly how you get them back on track. That's exactly how you get them back engaged. And you can always use students' work to talk about different strategies to bump up their work and to ensure that students know where is the benchmark and how to move them from that benchmark forward. Children love, students love for you to give them a spot in the, like, in when you're talking, for them to talk and explain their own work. And you can use the students that you know have a stronger, thicker skin. Of course, we always want to ask them prior, can I share your work? To get, just to make sure that you have that consent. And of course, never graded. Never graded, we know what comes from that, a lot of bullying. So never graded work, but we know that when you put their work on display in the classroom, now you're creating that holistic home environment. When I was working with the little guys, something I used to do is ask the kids to bring in a picture of their families. And I would have a family tree and we would put all our pictures on there so that when they felt sad or lonely, they could look at their family and feel like they were back at home. And of course, you always want to send home paperwork with consent for anything, depending on whether you're in private or public education, wherever you are in the world. I always ask people to make sure you check with your supervisors before you do anything, because you never know how different countries feel and have different sensitivities. All right, so let's have a look at how you can optimize and organize your classroom. And I know we often think that this is only for the little guys, but it's not. You'd be so surprised. And those of you who work in secondary or in higher education, you'd be so surprised how the correlation between the young ones and the big ones are all the same.
What responsibilities that they have when it's time.
It's the beginning here.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Brooks. Welcome to my first grade classroom. The setup of our classroom really works as far as the 21st century skills. They are together at tables. They're not at individual desks. Kids have to be collaborative in our classroom. They have to be team members. They have to be effective communicators to be able to work in the space together. In the center of their tables, they have tissues in here. They have pencils, erasers, sanitizer. All of their math manipulatives that they'll need for the day are ready to go in the morning. Each table has a basket that holds their crayons, their glue sticks. The drawers underneath are for their more individual things, but all of the other materials at their tables are shared. This is our meeting area. It's really sort of our home base. First thing in the morning, we come in and the kids gather here for the calendar. We really get to what we're doing for the day, so they have an idea of what's coming. This is our job chart. They keep their jobs for a week, so they know exactly what to do, what responsibilities that they have. When it's time to read a story, I'll sit in the big comfy chair and they just turn their bodies this way and they will be ready to listen to the story. Welcome to our classroom library. At the beginning of our classroom library, we have books featured by one of our students. The children really get a good look at each other's work and they know that they're writing for a purpose. Over here, we have bugs and dinosaurs and holidays. If it's not a directed independent reading time, they can come to these and really just pick whatever interests them. Another component to our classroom library are the author studies. The kids can choose lots of books from the authors that they're familiar with. And then most importantly, they're leveled books. This is something that they know what their levels are, so they always have just right books at their independent reading time. When they have their books chosen, they go into their individual book boxes. They have the kids' number on them so they know exactly where to go, what to pick up. Inside, they have a baggie that has all of their Just Right books in it that they've chosen. And then the books that are right over here are all of my guided reading books. So these are books that the kids do not come and choose from themselves, but these are the books that I pick from for their guided reading groups. Here we have our word wall. It's set up in alphabetical order, and as we go through, new sight words get added to the word wall. We have these in a nice big font because I want the kids to be able to see these words anywhere in the room, wherever they are. These are words that they should be able to read and they should be able to spell on their own. At the top, we have fab vocab, words that we've learned from our reading. I'll put the word up, but the kids are the ones who will illustrate it so that I know that they really understand it. We also have social studies vocabularies and the math vocabulary from the unit that we're using. Responsive classroom is really sort of the classroom environment. It kind of, to me, goes really well with the 21st century competencies because everyone is a team member. You know, having the kids feel safe to get up and give an answer, even if it might be wrong, all lends itself really nicely to making sure that the kids all feel as important a part of the classroom as all of the other kids.
Amazing. So one thing that you noticed there in the video is that they talked about the students working collaboratively. And I think that a great way to have engagement and re-engagement is to set up those norms and those belief systems in the classroom that this is just how we do things here. I personally never use the word rules because the second you say rule to any child, to any human being, what's going to happen? They want to break the rules. They want to find a way to go around it. But if we say, this is just how we do things, this is just the norm of how we do things in our classroom, everybody will have that sense of belonging. It's just normal that we tuck our chairs in. It's just normal that you're in uniform. It's just normal that we eat sitting down. It's just normal that we don't have hands on towards each other. You know, we have safe hands in this classroom. And so I took 3 different photos here of 3 different classrooms at all different grade levels. So PJ, JI, and IS, so that you can see that even the big kids will respect a space that they know that they're coming into that is indicative of their work and that they feel a sense of attachment and closeness to. This is how you engage and re-engage students. I personally do not ever believe in raising my voice. What if I started yelling at you right now, Morella? How would you feel? Or if I started embarrassing you now, Mr. Amin, how would you feel? So I never do that to students, especially as they're growing on their, human trajectory. A kid who's 15 years old, whether you're in Canada, US, Iran, Zagreb, it doesn't matter. You start embarrassing them, masalama bye, khalas. It's not going to work at all. I always say, step outside, take the student outside and talk to them privately at a different time so that they're not bullied, in the classroom. And if you think you're going to lose it, the day is going squirrely. If you think you're going to freak out, step outside the class, take a deep breath, stop the lesson, do some mountain breathing with the kids, do that mountain breathing and start again. Never, ever, ever allow yourself to go to that point where you could put yourself in a position to lose your job, or you could put a student in a position to do something that would jeopardize both of you. Always pause, take a break. And that's the type of classroom environment that you want to have. That's why from the beginning of this session, I said, after any break, bam, you start that class all over again. It's as if it's day one. So when you go back in on Monday, you can, or Sunday or Thursday or whatever day of the week you start work, you could re-engage those students immediately. You could restart immediately because we've come off of a long break. And so you know that now is the time when you can harness those kids, you can grab them right back in and re-engage them. So in the text box, go ahead and let me know in our beautiful chat here with, oh, I wish I could just download this whole chat. There's so much amazing information in the text box. Please let me know what you see here happening in these classrooms. And I know some of you have written a lot of engagement, collaboration, working together. It looks like the kids are very engaged and they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're not off task. That's something that's important, is that even if they are talking to each other, excuse me, in the classroom, we want them to be talking to each other about what they're learning or what they're doing, having that accountable talk. Yeah, very disciplined, engaged classroom. That's right. You want to have a high ceiling and a very low floor so that you can engage students in the learning. This way they can come into that lesson at any point and they don't feel like they don't know what they're doing. That was excellent. Thank you so much for writing that. All right, folks, I'm going to move on here. Now, this is an amazing recount of how the environment is the third teacher. So let's have a listen here before we get into our case study.
My name is Bill Ayers. I'm from the University of Illinois at Chicago, retired professor. You know, the biggest challenge, the biggest intellectual challenge of teaching is seeing the student as a three-dimensional creature, just like yourself, beyond the blizzard of labels, beyond the deficit model. Who is this person before you? What is this person capable of? That's the number one challenge of teaching. And of course, it's not enough to see the student and not reveal yourself. So it's a question of relationship building. But the second challenge is creating an environment for learning that's deep enough and wide enough so that everyone can find something to do, something familiar, and something that pushes them and stretches them. The environment is really the third teacher. And it took me a while again to understand that. I was a young teacher. I used to take my kindergarten kids to the Detroit Metropolitan Airport. We would get to the mouth of the concourse. It was just a field trip. No, I had nothing in mind except having a fun day. I'd get 8 5-year-olds at the mouth of the concourse. This was before security, before they had turned into shopping malls. And what did these 5-year-olds do? Anyone who thinks about it knows that what they did is ran. 8 5-year-olds running down the concourse with this hapless 20-year-old teacher chasing after them. So the next time we went to the airport, I said, listen, no running. You have to hold hands. Here's your sketchbook. You have to be partners. You have to stay together. When you get to the end of the concourse, I'll give you M&Ms. We got to the head of the concourse, and what did they do? They took off running. It took me 4 trips, because I'm a slow learner, to understand that the environment is more important than the lesson. The environment tells you what to do, and it is the third teacher. After the parent, after the teacher, comes the environment. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what do I care about? What are my priorities? Is my environment rich enough and deep enough? Is it literate enough? Does it have opportunities to explore? Does it have opportunities to invent and create? That's the environment you want to build, and that's more important than all the lesson planning you'll ever do.
All right. Now, isn't that amazing? I think we've all been there actually, you know, when it took you 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times to learn that what you're doing right now isn't working. It's not working and you got to change. All right, so let's go into our case study now about basically all of this combined together. Classroom management, disengagement, re-engagement, the third teacher, and so forth. So basically getting that classroom together, and we've been talking about management this whole time. So let's go over this scenario. I'm going to read this scenario to you and you can give me your answers in the chat box. After recently modifying your lesson plans to include in-class small team assignments, you notice that Genevieve with her head on her desk while her partners are working through the problem. After asking her if something is wrong, she replies that group work is a waste of time. Now, what are your thoughts? Do you think that working in table groups, that this is a scenario, and how would you respond to it as an educator? And then you can post your answer, you can record your answer in the chat box, and then we'll discuss your thoughts. So let me read that again. After recently modifying your lesson plans to include in-class small team assignments, you notice that Genevieve, with her head on her desk, while her partners are working through the problem. After asking her if something is wrong, she replies that group work is a waste of time and thinks that teachers should actually teach during class. So go ahead and think about that and what you would do as an educator and how you would respond. And then please put your answers in our meeting chat box, and then we'll discuss this all together. I'm going to try and put this here on the side. Okay, so let's go ahead and peruse through our chat box. So Nada says that she would assign each member of the group a task. Mace says the group work is a way for her to understand to see if they convey the topic. Okay. I'd ask her if she's ever done group work before. Certain tasks may not be suited for each group. That's exactly what I was thinking, is that this task is too high for where this student is academically. And so she's totally tapped out. That's it. Khalas, masalama bye. She's like, I'm out. I'm not doing it. And what are you realistically gonna do? Say, get out of the room, go to the principal, go to the counselor? I mean, that's not effective teaching. Just try to be a part of it, whatever you can. Yeah, differentiated instruction, exactly. Set realistic goals, exactly. Yeah, teamwork, help each other to understand. Everybody, we're all on the same page. That's amazing. We're all on the same page. We all agree that the task was too high for the student, and the student couldn't enter with the rest of her group. She might have been a weaker learner, and she might have been paired with students that are not on her level. And that's why I always say, if you're gonna do group work, make sure you're pairing students together who can work together, who are within the same range, so that you don't have any of that sort of teetering with who's going to do the work and who's not. Try to make sure you have students within the same range working together. And There always needs to be an accountability officer in the group. Somebody who says, time out, you know, Natasha's not doing her work, Anne is goofing off, you know, Muhammad is doing all the work. Whoa, we can't do that. And another thing I wanted to bring up too, which Batul just mentioned, is that some kids are introverts and they're not okay working with others. Just like us as adults, sorry, excuse me, I have my throat, I have such a bad cold. Just like us as adults, some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, some people are intro-extro. But we have students who are introverts and they don't want to work with others, and we don't make space for them. Just like us as adults, sometimes we don't want to work with others because we're introverts, or we like to do our own thing and work alone. And we're not in a world anymore where people can work alone, or we make space for introverts or introvert students. So I always, before I do any group, I always ask the kids, if you want to work alone and you can justify why and you can do good work on your own, and I see that you're not making bad choices, because I never call the kids good or bad. That's horrible. You know, it's like saying, Howda, you're a bad girl. Like, why would you say something like that? Maybe she's just making a bad choice right now. So I always use the words, are you making a good choice? Are you making a bad choice? And right now, are you school ready, or do you need a break? Because this way, it takes the blame off of the person, off of the child, and puts the blame on the action, not them. Because maybe at that moment, they're making a bad choice, but they're not a bad person. So I never use good girl, bad boy, good boy. I always put the onus on the action. Are you making a good choice? Are you making a bad choice? Is this a healthy behavior? Is this unhealthy behavior? And are you school ready right now? Because a lot of kids come to school and they're not school ready. Maybe in the morning, their parents were, you know, going at it, and they came to school and their brain is at home. So I always try to contextualize with them. Amazing. The tone, the way of the tone affects. Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Huda. And Nada agrees with us. That's amazing. Awesome. All right, so let's have a look at some different classroom management mistakes and what we can do instead. Oh, wonder what happened there. Oh, I'm sorry about that. 1 second, give me 1 second. Let me start that again.
Sometimes misbehavior or inattention isn't what it seems. For many students, it stems from boredom or restlessness, seeking attention from peers, behavioral disorders, or struggling with issues at home. And some misbehavior is just a healthy part of a child's social and emotional development. Here are 6 common classroom management mistakes and what the research suggests you should do instead. A strategy that works for one student may backfire for another. Look for patterns in the behavior that might reveal the underlying reasons, and consider checking in with the student to see if the source of the problem can be identified. In a 2018 study, academic frustration explained student misbehavior 20% of the time. Students either didn't understand the assignment or it was too difficult, and misbehavior was an outlet for their disappointment. You don't have to fix all misbehavior. In fact, trying to do so can actually make things worse in the long run. Negative attention can make students feel marginalized, leading to more behavioral issues later on. Instead, highlight positive conduct like finishing work on time or efficiently transitioning between activities. Data walls, behavior charts, and other public displays of misbehavior don't improve student conduct, according to a 2019 study. Instead of calling students out publicly, approach them privately and encourage them to reflect on the wrongdoing, think about its source, and take responsibility for addressing it. You can't expect kids to work with you without putting in the emotional labor. Demanding compliance will often result in kids rebelling, testing boundaries, or engaging in power struggles. Try proactive strategies like positive greetings at the door, co-creating classroom norms, and building and maintaining strong relationships. Are all students being treated equally and fairly? Teachers often give Black students fewer warnings to correct their misbehavior, for example, when compared to their white peers. School systems must address broader discipline policies, but within classrooms, teachers can start by reflecting on their own implicit biases. They can also make it a practice to regularly review their disciplinary measures to see if there are areas for improvement.
All right, amazing. Very good. Okay, so I know I'm getting close to the end, so I'm going to skip over this slide right here. And I'm going to go right to the end in case we have any last minute questions, comments, or concerns. I thank you very much for being here this afternoon and sharing with me all of this today. These are my contacts right here if you need to get in touch with me. And I look forward to being with you again and hearing from you in the future. I thank you so much for everything. And I'm going to extend the floor now to Miss Anne from TESOL for any last minute regards.
Okay, thank you very much, Natasha, for all those ideas. That is very good. What I want to do is to share my screen 1 minute, I hope. Okay.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you so much. And I realized that I was starting to run out of time there. So I'm like, oops, I better wrap it up because I could go for another hour.
Well, thank you. I want to draw your attention to our TESOL Symposium, which will be on February the 11th. It is face-to-face on the campus of Gulf University for Science and Technology. And if you go to our TESOL Kuwait website, you will see everything. It's got the link to register, or you can scan the code, but this is face-to-face. Okay, it has also the schedule and our speakers. So I do hope that you will join us there. I've sent out a message because our problem was that, just 1 moment, that the wrong link went out. So I've sent one this morning. Well, this morning, I'm 9 hours behind you all. It's like 2:54 a.m. here. But anyway, I have sent the correct link, and I hope that you will join us then. Another thing to say is that we will have 2 vacancies on our TESOL Kuwait Executive Board, but you must be in Kuwait to stand for election for these. One is for the secretary, and one is for the sponsorship chair. So if you are interested in participating in that, send your CV, whether it's for the secretary or the sponsorship chair, to me at president@tesolkuwait.net. The last thing to say is that you will be receiving your certificate if you were here for at least 45 minutes. And this is determined by the Zoom records, because Zoom actually keeps a record of it. And it will probably be by Monday. Always look in, if you know that you were here for at least 45 minutes and you go, it's Monday, where is my certificate? Go in your spam folder if you don't see it. Okay, again, I want to thank Natasha for being here and to thank all of you for joining us today. I hope that you will be able to join us at GUST for the symposium, and then the webinar will be back on the first Saturday in March. Okay, thank you. Have a great day. Goodbye.